Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of council for the Township of Malahide on April 17th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:03. We'll begin with O Canada. Rise if you're able.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command.
Car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits.
God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you for that. We'll proceed with the approval of the agenda. Any changes? I know we do have one item for under J, unfinished business. We'll bring back the tender award for the pickup truck. Anything else? And I will also add a statement regarding the strong mayor powers under announcements. There's nothing else. The resolution, please.
That the April 17th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be approved as presented with the following additions: unfinished business, tender award, pickup truck replacements, and under announcements, strong mayor power announcement.
Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Cerna seconds, all in favor. Motion is carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Deputy Mayor Widner.
Thank you, Mayor. Leonard Jones, Drain Branch C.
Noted, thank you. And then under announcements, I just wanted to just take a moment to address there've been a few inquiries and comments about the fact that last week, Minister Flack announced the intention for the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing to extend strong mayor powers to an additional 169 municipalities effective May 1st, 2025. The expansion targets single and lower tier municipalities with councils comprising of 6 or more members. So by default, this includes Malahide Township. As most will recall, the motivation of the province is to provide municipalities and mayors with as many tools as possible to get homes and infrastructure built faster. Despite the positive intentions, many councils have so far expressed their concerns on the risks associated with this approach. So for Malahide, our position on this matter can be summed up very easily in very few words. Thank you and 104. Thank you because we appreciate that Minister Flack is doing all that he can to support municipalities in their housing and infrastructure development efforts. One can never have too many tools in their toolbox. And I also know that we all have many tools in the shed that never get used. 104, because you all know that since the inauguration of this council in 2022, I've been consistently promoting Malahide's own approach to decision-making. 104. In Malahide, as you know, we work as one team. We use zero drama, and we forever keep listening and learning from each other. So I don't see that changing anytime soon. We are and we will continue to work as one team with council and staff and our residents. And I trust that as one team, Team Malahide is on board with that. Thank you. Okay. With that, we'll proceed and continue with the adoption of minutes of the previous meetings. We have the minutes of April 3rd, 2025. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, resolution please.
That the minutes of the regular council meeting held on April 3rd, 2025 be adopted.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Cerna moves, Counselor Wilson seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried. So next we have a couple of public meetings. So the first one is meeting to consider Leonard Jones Drain. And we have Mr. Spreet. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship.
You want to, this one is, there's no public meeting for that, so you can go ahead with the overview, please.
Sure, thank you. Tonight's meeting is the extension of Branch C of the Leonard Jones Drain. This is another one of these reports that an individual, Mr. Fair, is severing some lots, and as a condition of severance, he's required to provide a municipal drainage outlet to those lots so that they can deal with their stormwater properly and it doesn't cause future problems with these new lots. So what we're proposing to do is simply extend Branch C further south down County Road 73 or Imperial Road for 50 meters and provide each lot plus the retained lot a connection to the municipal drain. It's all a closed system using sealed pipe, and it will allow Mr. Fair to get his severances for this property. And I should point out, he's paying all the costs of this report. Are there any questions?
Any questions or comments? Not seeing any. We can proceed with the resolution then.
That the engineer's report for Leonard Jones Drain Branch C extension be accepted and that bylaw number 25-25 being a bylaw to provide for the Leonard Jones Branch C extension drainage works be read a first and second time and provisionally adopted.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Wilson moves, Counselor Glinski seconds. All those in favor? Motion is carried.
That the Court of Revision for the Leonard Jones Drain Branch C extension be scheduled to be held on May 15th, 2025 at 7 p.m.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Leach moves, Counselor Cerna second. All those in favor? Motion is carried.
That the tenders for the construction of the Leonard Jones Drain Branch C extension be requested for May 9th, 2025 at 11 a.m.
Mover and seconder. Counselor Wilson moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. I think that's the only item that we have with you, Mr. Spreet.
Yes, thank you. Have a great
Thank
evening.
you. Have a great evening as well. Okay, then we can proceed with the first public meeting. And I shall call this meeting to order with the resolution, please.
The council adjourn its regular meeting at 7:12 p.m. in order to convene in a public meeting under section 3412 of the Planning Act.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Widner moves, Counselor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So this is a public meeting as required by the Planning Act to allow any person an opportunity to make representation with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment relating to the property known municipally as 47254 Mapleton Line. Clerk Adams, can you tell us the method of notice and when was a notice given to the public for this meeting?
The public meeting was advertised in the Aylmer Express for 2 consecutive weeks on April 2nd and April 9th. In addition, affected property owners within 120 meters were mailed a notice at minimum 20 days prior to this meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Steele, welcome.
Good evening.
Can you provide an overview of the application and let us know if any comments were received?
Certainly. Before council this evening is a zoning bylaw amendment application required as condition of a previous consent application, number E68-24. The purpose of that previous consent was to facilitate a lot addition between the owner's existing undersized A1 zone parcel and an adjacent larger farm parcel. The consent application was supported by the township and conditionally approved by Land Division Committee, with condition that a zoning bylaw amendment be filed to change the boundaries to align with the new lot lines. And so the application was submitted. No comments have been received from agencies or members of the public, and staff have no concerns, and so I recommend that the application be approved. And that concludes our presentation. I'd be happy to take questions from members of council.
Thank you for the overview. Any comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Widner?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through to Mr. Steele. This was brought up before. Has there been a change to this to make it work this time? I'm just curious.
Through Madam Mayor to the council or to Deputy Mayor. So yeah, the previous or was before council previously as the consent application. And so that was reviewed by staff then and recommendation we brought to council previously. And then that was approved or conditionally approved by the Land Division Committee. And this is simply just bringing forward the zoning amendment to address the new zone boundaries that align with the lot lines.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions or comments? Is there anyone else attending? Double check. We don't have anyone else in attendance. Any member of council have any questions? No further questions. So if there's no further questions or discussion, please be advised that any person wishing further information regarding the passing of the proposing bylaw amendment should contact the clerk. And for now, we'll proceed with the adjournment of this meeting.
That the planning public meeting adjourn at 7:15 PM and council reconvene in its regular meeting in order to continue with its deliberations.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Wilson moves, Councilor Leach seconds. All in favor? Motion is carried. And now for the consideration of the planner's report.
That report number DS 2513 entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application of Galen McHugh, Melissa Sharp, and Walter Harris relating to the property located at 47254 Mapleton Line be received, and that the zoning bylaw amendment application number D14Z03-25 of Galen McHugh, Melissa Sharp, and Walter Harris relating to the property located at Concession 11, Part Lot 21, RP 11R 4045, Part 1, and RP 11R 3776, Part 3, Township of Malahide, and known municipally as 47254 Mapleton Line be approved for the reasons set out in this report.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councilor Leach moves, Deputy Mayor Widner seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you for that. So we have another public meeting and this one, so we'll call it to order with the resolution, please.
That the Committee of the Adjustment for the Township of Malahide be called to order at 7:16 PM and that Mayor Dominique Giguère be appointed chairperson for the Committee of Adjustment.
Mover and seconder. Councilor Cerna moves, Councilor Glinsky seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So the purpose of this hearing is to consider an application for a minor variance as submitted by Arnold and Joanna Bartson relating to the property known municipally as 47325 Talbot Line and 47340 Welton Street. Mr. Steele, can you provide an overview of the application and let us know if any additional comments had been received?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this minor variance application is before committee, and two related disturbance applications will be coming back when council resumes first consideration as well. For some context, there was a previous zoning bylaw amendment application for this property to rezone the subject lands from the general industrial to hamlet residential zones, which was approved by Township Council. Consent applications E22-25 and E23-25 have been submitted to realign property lines of the property to create two new residential lots in the hamlet of Orwell. The submitted minor variance application is to permit a reduced lot area of 1,460 square meters, whereas the bylaw typically requires a minimum lot area of 1,850 square meters. both these applications together would allow for the utilization of currently these are underutilized lots within the hamlet of Orwell. Additionally, a hydrological study was prepared and concluded that there would be no impacts on groundwater resources due to the reduced lot area and being able to accommodate private septic systems. And so in lieu of this review, staff recommend that the application be approved. No comments were received from agencies or members of the public since the submission of this report. Staff are noting one minor change to the resolution for the minor variance application. Previously, there was attached a standard condition that's applied to most minor variance applications. However, it's noted that that condition is not really applicable to this instance, and so staff recommend that it be approved subject to no conditions being applied. And staff have also in their report provided a resolution for the severance applications to be supported by Township Council and recommend conditions be forwarded to Land Division Committee, which will be, as I understand, reviewed separately after the committee adjustment makes its decisions. And that concludes the presentation. I'd be happy to questions members of council.
Thank you for that. Do we have an agent or the applicant online? No? No one's here. Okay. Anyone else in attendance? In this committee wishing to make any comments or questions? Okay, so if there's no further input on the application, I will now ask the committee to make the decision on the application with the resolution from Clerk Adams, please.
The report number DS 25-14 entitled Minor Variance and Consent to Sever Applications of Arnold and Joanna Bartson relating to properties located at Plan 15, Part Lots 1, 2, 3, Plan 15, Lot 3, SS Talbot, and Plan 15, Lot 4, North-South Main, Part Mill Street closed, RP 11R 7283, Part 5, known as 47325 Talbot Line and 47340 Weldon Street, Malahide, be received, and that the Township of Malahide Committee of Adjustment approve application number D13 MV0225.
Yeah. You read that again? Thank you. Can I have a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Wilson moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? That is carried. And we can close the meeting.
That the Committee of Adjustment for the Township of Malahide be adjourned and the council meeting reconvene at 7:21 p.m.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Councillor Cerna moves, Councillor Glinsky seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, so next we can jump to item J, which is bringing us to the unfinished business, the tender award. Mr. Godby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The April 3rd council meeting, staff presented a report PW 2512 recommending the award of tender for the purchase of 2 new pickup trucks for the municipality. There was significant discussion about the potential impact of tariffs on the purchase. So at the end of the discussion, the report was ultimately deferred and staff were instructed to contact the successful bidder to verify they would be willing to hold the pricing submitted in the tender. Since that time, staff were in contact with the successful bidder who has confirmed that they would be honoring the prices submitted in the tender. Therefore, with this information, staff are now seeking council's approval to proceed with those purchases as we presented last meeting. So an additional note to that, part of the takeaway was to have a quick discussion with our fleet management advisory committee, which consists of Deputy Mayor Widner and Councillor Lewis, who were both supportive of, yes, they're going to hold the pricing. So let's go ahead and get these purchased and move on. So with that, if there's any questions or concerns, I'd be happy to address them.
Thank you. Seems like good news. Comments, questions? Deputy Mayor Widner.
Thank you, Mayor. You to Jason, it's good news and good news for the treasurer, because I imagine this will help somewhere else, which it always does. And thanks for taking the extra time looking into it. I think it was well spent, and I'm glad we deferred it until we got definite answers. So there will be no change, and I guess there is a change. We just leave the truck sitting there.
Yes, that's ultimately, sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, that is ultimately the position we would take is that if they do flip their minds on anything when it's time to pay for these trucks, we do have that option to just walk away.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, the resolution, please.
That the previously deferred recommendation related to report number PW 25-12 entitled Tender Award Pickup Truck Replacements be approved, and that staff be authorized to enter into an agreement with Bayfield Ford of Barrie, Ontario for the purchase of 2 3/4-ton pickup trucks.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Widner moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That is carried. This brings us to new business. The first item is a consent application. Right? Or did we cover that?
already
already?
covered it
Okay.
within, it's just the resolution that we required.
Okay, so we've already covered this, and we've had the discussion, so we'll proceed with the resolution.
That report number DS 25-14 entitled Minor Variance and Consent to Sever Application of Arnold and Joanna Barrettson relating to properties located at Plan 15, Part Lots 1, 2, and 3, Plan 15, Lot 3, South Side Talbot, and Plan 15, Lot 4, North Side Main, Part Mill Street closed, RP 11R 7283, Part 5, 47325 Talbot Line, and 47340 Weldon Street, Malahide be received, and that the applications for consent to sever number E22-25 and E23-25 be supported by the Township of Malahide Council for the reasons set out in this report, and that this report and the recommended consent conditions be forwarded to the Land Division Committee for its review and consideration.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Leach moves, Councillor Wilson seconds. All in favor? That is carried. This brings us to the next item is the 2024 investment reporting. Director Boylan?
Thank you. This report summarizes the township's investment activities during 2024. So at the end of 2024, we had 1.5 million in government bonds, 3.5 million in corporate bonds, and 3.7 million in the stock market. These earned a total of $904,000 with an annual rate of return of 10.86%. We also had $5.8 million in cash and interest earning investments at the end of the year, which earned another $245,000. So I'll note that these cash holdings at year end are typically higher than what we've seen in previous years. I've noted in my report that during the last quarter of 2024, we started shifting away from the stock market just in anticipation of the US election that was going to be taking place. So we've been focusing more on investment preservation going into 2025 as opposed to maximizing our rate of return. That being said, we did still get a very good rate of return for 2024. So in total, investment earnings were over 1.15 million for 2024. This was forecasted in our long-term financial modeling that the 2025 budget had relied upon. Also included in my report is a performance review of our investment activities based on the township's stated investment objectives. So briefly going through those, all investments were compliant with the Municipal Act. We've at minimum preserved the initial capital investment made by our taxpayers through their reserve contributions in the budget. We've maintained a fully liquid investment portfolio that can be used at council's discretion at any time. We've achieved investment returns which exceeded inflation, thereby reducing our future infrastructure costs for our residents. And lastly, we've achieved an investment return which is on par with or it exceeds comparator benchmark investment vehicles. So overall, we're very satisfied with this year's investment returns. And again, it reinforces for council the strength of using this kind of reserve-focused financial strategy for funding the township's infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, through Adam. That's an excellent report. It's nice to see that kind of money coming in. I guess the challenge will be, can you do it again next year?
You wish to respond with your crystal ball?
During this term of council, we've really enjoyed the shift into the stock market and equity. That was kind of like the plan I laid out a couple of years ago is like, hey, you need a bit more higher risk, higher return investments as part of your portfolio. And that's worked very well for us. I don't know that this year is the year to be doing that. So we are very much just focused on covering inflation. That would be like that. I would consider that to be a great year for us if we can just cover inflation. That being said, who knows what's going to happen with inflation as a result of the tariffs? But right now, yeah, we're in a low equity, low stock market holdings position, just focusing on stable, predictable returns for 2025, and hopefully that will cover our inflationary costs.
Thank you for that. And thanks again for the good investment, because that really makes a difference to our tax base.
See another career for our treasurer. Advising. Counselor Cerna.
Do you make these decisions on your own, or do you have somebody else helping you here?
So we invest with One Investment, which is through AMO. They're a nonprofit investment organization. Our investment policy was passed by council in 2022. I actually had them come in and recommend that policy to council. So the policy that was ultimately approved by council was from me, but it was I consulted with One Investment to like develop that policy. So when I invest, I'm choosing what percentage of our overall reserves go into different buckets, and I have some discretion as to what goes where. But the actual like trading on the stock market, for example, is something that's done by our One Investment team. They're investment professionals. They have a whole team that they just do this. So they're a specialized group that are much smarter at those kinds of things than I am.
I have to concur with Deputy Mayor. It's a good news, and it's good. And if you're doing it like that, come and see me. I got a little bit of cash, and I could use some more. So thank you very much. You're doing the taxpayers a world of good doing that.
Thank you for that. Any further comments or questions? The resolution, please.
The report number FIN 2508 entitled 2024 Investment Reporting be received for information.
Mover and seconder, Counselor Cerna moves, Counselor Glinski second. All in favor? Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is the civic addressing and road naming policy. And that's yours, Clerk Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report is to inform council about the proposed update to the township civic addressing and road naming policy. The current policy, which was adopted through bylaw 9705 and based on an Elgin County framework, now requires an update due to changes in provincial planning policies, the rise in higher density housing, and additional ADU units. And the need to align with the new NG 911 emergency response standards. While the proposed policy retains the core elements of the original framework, it introduces improvements to better address these evolving needs. Although the road naming policy itself has not changed, it has been updated to reflect the repeal of the previous bylaw that it was a part of. This updated approach ensures the township civic addressing system remains consistent, responsive, and ready to support ongoing development and emergency services.
Thank you. I'll open it up for questions or comments. Somewhat straightforward, but yeah, necessary. There are no comments or questions. I'll proceed with the resolution, please.
The report number Clerk 2502 entitled Civic Addressing and Road Naming Policy be received, and that council approve the civic addressing and road naming policy as amended.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Wilson moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. This brings us to bylaws. There are 3 that can be considered in one resolution. Go ahead.
That the following bylaws be now read a first and second and third time and finally passed. 2526 McHugh Sharp Harris rezoning, bylaw 25-24, the civic addressing and road naming policy, and that the following bylaws be now read a first and second time. 25-25 Leonard Jones Branch C drain extension.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Cerna moves, Counselor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. So next, it brings us to Committee of the Whole. Can I have a resolution to move in the committee, please?
Resolved that we do now move into Committee of the Whole.
Mover and seconder, please. Counselor Leach moves, Counselor Cerna seconds. All in favor? Motion's carried. So the committee has two items this evening for consideration. First, we'll start with the facility rental fees update. Director Boylan.
Thank you. The purpose of this report is to recommend a series of structural changes to the township's facility rental schedule. So the goal of this review was really just to make our rates easier to understand and encourage community use of our spaces where possible, while still keeping our fees affordable and in line with similar facilities. So throughout the process, our focus was on ensuring that the recommended rate changes would not result in increased costs for most user groups. Rather, our intent was to promote fairness and consistency across the board. So in doing so, we've addressed several longstanding issues in the current rate structure where certain fees were either unclear or undefined, leaving room for inconsistent application or unintended consequences. The rationale behind each of these changes is detailed in the report for council's review. We've also included some basic comparisons with rental rates at similar facilities in the region that help to validate our recommended fee structure. Through this review, we believe that we will continue to offer good value and remain well within the range of market norms. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open it up for any feedback or questions from the committee. Also reminding the public, so this is affecting potentially end users, so a good opportunity for the next couple of weeks for any members of the public who use this policy and the facilities to review and provide feedback as well. But for now, from members of the committee, any questions or comments? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. The last couple weekends, I've attended Stag and Does at the community center, and very well attended. And it's great to have such a facility out here in the community, and you don't have to head to town to have a great spot for having those events. So it's nothing but positive comments from the people I was talking to. Thanks.
Nice. And I can only imagine if it seems consistent and easy to proceed with the rental and the fees are clear and it helps with better service, then we should be able to see even more rentals. The word will spread. Any other comments? Councillor Leach or Councillor Glinski first.
Madam Mayor, does this mean, from what I read in here, that the surcharge of 5% will no longer be in play?
Director Boylan?
That is correct. We've just integrated it into the base fees because it was kind of confusing people. And honestly, we weren't tracking the 5% anyway, like internally. So we just took the 5% and made it part of the actual fee so people don't get confused about what the actual cost of the rental is going to be.
And Mayor, I think that's a good idea because I thought that we had agreed on doing that N number of years ago. And finally, to see it come to fruition, it's about time. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through to Adam. Do these minimum fees cover the cost of staff for the facility?
That was definitely something we looked at. We didn't feel like it would be reasonable to cover all costs, like the overhead, the facility costs. But one thing we did want to focus on is covering the actual cost of our building attendants, like being on site. There are direct costs. And in most cases, these new fees will do that. There are a couple instances where they don't. I believe they're noted in the report, but I'm referring specifically to South Dorchester Community Hall rentals. We expect that to resolve itself through the card lock system. Once the card lock system is implemented, the fees will be in line to cover direct costs. So that's why we're not recommending a change there. And the other one being baseball tournament rentals. I believe that fee does not cover the direct costs. It's a very long event, so you need staff to attend for a long time, and it just drives up the costs. That's another area where we felt if we were to potentially cost it at the full direct cost recovery, we might price ourselves out of the market. Or to do it now, we'd be affecting user groups at like a very vulnerable time of the year. So we thought that was something perhaps we could discuss at the next budget.
Thank you for being aware of the users and keeping them in mind when making the fee schedule. Thank you.
Any further comments? Okay, yes, I appreciate as well the, again, it feels more transparent, fair, consistent, and that's the way it should be. So it's nice that this, as Councilor Glinski said, that was overdue for being looked at thoroughly and sort of tidied up. So thank you. So resolution, please, then.
The report number FIN 2507 entitled Facility Rental Fee Update be received for information that the committee recommend to council the approval of the revised facility rental fee schedule attached as Appendix A to the report titled Facility Rental Fee Update, and that the revised facility rental fee schedule be adopted effective immediately, and that staff be directed to take the necessary or all necessary steps to implement the revised fee schedule, including communicating changes to facility users and updating all relevant administrative materials and booking systems.
Thank you. Mover and seconder. Councilor Wilson moves, Councilor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Next item for the committee is the municipal election method of voting. Back to you, Clerk Adams.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to council. It's hard to believe we're already planning for the 2026 municipal election. Nevertheless, staff recommend continuing with internet and telephone voting, which was successfully implemented in 2022. This approach aligns with the township's strategic plan and provides significant benefits to both the municipality and residents. First, it significantly enhances accessibility and engagement. Internet and telephone voting enable electors to cast their ballots anytime from anywhere over a 7 to 10 day voting period using a smartphone, landline, computer, or tablet. This flexibility is particularly important for seasonal residents, individuals with disabilities, those traveling, or anyone who face barriers to voting in person. Second, this method is secure and reliable. The system uses unique voter PINs and two-factor authentication, requiring both the PIN and the elector's full date of birth to ensure authorized access. All voting data is encrypted, and an independent auditor module is in place to monitor and verify the integrity. Ballots are fully anonymous once cast, ensuring privacy and safeguarding the secrecy of the vote. All information is stored in a secure, severed database, protecting both voter and identity and the integrity of the election. From a financial and operational standpoint, this operation is cost-effective and efficient. While costs for the 2026 election are projected to be similar to the 2022, they remain significantly lower than traditional voting or vote-by-mail methods. Additionally, by partnering with Elgin and Middlesex municipalities, we gain access to group pricing, delivering greater value for our taxpayers. This method also supports improved service delivery. It provides a convenient self-serve voting experience while maintaining a help center at the township office for those who need assistance, access to technology, or who prefer the traditional feel of voting in person at a physical location. This ensures all electors, regardless of comfort level with technology, can participate fully and confidentially in the election process. Of course, there will always be intrinsic factors beyond our control that may influence voter turnout, including the level of public interest in the election, candidate engagement, and broader societal trends. One notable example is when key roles like mayor or deputy mayor are uncontested. Acclamations can have an impact on voter participation, and they may lead to lower engagement when key positions are uncontested. While we can't influence these factors, we can ensure that the voting process itself is as open and accessible as possible. This method gives us the best opportunity to support broad participation and uphold the integrity of the democratic process. In summary, this recommendation reflects our commitment to innovation, accessibility, efficiency, and cost-effective services. It positions us to deliver an election process that is inclusive, secure, and responsive to evolving needs of our community. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councilor Cerna.
Through you, Madam Mayor. If it's a close vote, can you do a recount?
Yes, Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cerna, yes, there can be a recount done if an individual requests that. It would be done online. We can pull all the stats and look through them to see the recount. Just like you would a ballot box, right? Essentially, you're going through the back end and pulling those counts and seeing them online in person, just like you would pulling from a ballot box.
But you're counting the same stuff over again, right?
Right, the same votes, yes,
So you come up with the same answer.
correct. Just like you would essentially with pulling from a ballot box, it's always going to be accurate. There's never the chance for a missed ballot. So although there wouldn't be a need, you still could.
Okay, so my next question would be, what would stop me from going to 15 different households, gathering their ballot, getting their PIN, going home and voting for them?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cerna, well, that is committing fraud and.
I forget the fraud.
Right,
What's
okay.
stopping me from doing?
Well, so integrity, and as well, you would need to know the person's full birth date, year, month, and day. Well, if again, it's integrity. So if you go home and vote from your same computer or device with mobile data on it, or from a landline, it can be tracked and it's traced through IP addresses and phone numbers and to support and detect suspicious activity. So it's not linked back to how you voted, but it's going to flag in the system that this phone number or data provider has voted so many times, and it will alert us of this for the IT department to look into further.
Okay, that's all I'm asking. So it does show up.
It does show up.
Okay, good. That's because you want, I know what you're trying to do. We're trying to save money in this, that next, but you want to keep the integrity of the system. So I'm trying to throw everything at you to make sure that there is integrity of the system. And that's what I'm not trying to, say I'm going to do this or anything, but I'm asking for a friend. Yeah. But, I just want to make sure that all the angles are covered. That if this is how we want to do it, then I want to make sure that everybody knows that if you try to do something that's not right, that you can get caught, or this isn't the way to do it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So how well did this system work when we used it in past election?
From a staff perspective, it was flawless. The provider was always available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, like leading up to the election during the 7-day to 10-day period. Any questions were always answered efficiently. Our IT department was on site election day just in case there was any issues. There weren't any issues, knock on wood, that would be the same thing again. But again, they are available. From the voter perspective, we had a couple residents who said they were traveling and they wouldn't have access to the internet and certain things like that. So we gave them a few other options. But in general, we heard nothing but positive feedback from the people that came in to vote, because if they wanted to, they still liked to be voting in person or needed that assistance with a computer. And from, other staff's perspective that helped me on those days, they found it very easy to use and to guide people along. I highly recommend it. And the provider we had was great. We're getting demos through Elgin and Middlesex municipalities joining right now, just as I had stated in my report, to get the better group pricing, and providers only will take on so many municipalities and then they've hit their max, and then you have to find another one. And we don't want to be left at that point where we're taking maybe not the best of providers that we can.
Right, so thank you for that. So that is the exact same setup as we had in 2022, and as you said, there were no complaints or so it seemed to be successful from the users and from staff, so, okay. Councilor Glinski?
Madam Mayor, how were the people handled that do not have computers or phones?
Yes,
Because
so.
we do have those people.
Yeah, so I mean, if they don't have a cell phone, they can still use a landline. If they don't have a computer, they can use a tablet or go to the local library or come into the municipality. And we have 2 stations set up in our upstairs meeting room that they could either use a phone or a computer within the privacy screens. So there are options for them for the 7 to 10 days before and right up until close on election night.
Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you to Allison. I'm just curious, with our cell phone providers we have around here, sometimes calls get dropped. So say I'm in the middle, halfway through voting and it's out. And how do they, is that fixable or?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Deputy Mayor. So unless you actually push, so you go through the ballot, you do all the eligible races that you have, and at each point, it's going to ask you to confirm. So if you've hit confirm at the end and then it gets dropped, then you'll go back on and it's going to say you've already voted and you won't be able to vote again. So then you know it completed. If you go back on and it allows you to do it again because you didn't get to that final confirm stage, then it's going to let you do it. And we can tell in the system that you've voted or not, or whatnot. It'll check a box within voter view that shows us that it's been completed.
Okay, thank you. Again, good discussion. We're in committee of the whole, so this will be considered by council at our next meeting. So again, if there's feedback from the public from 2022, now's a good time to let us know if there are any further questions or concerns, and we can consider that as part of the decision in a couple of weeks. There's nothing else for this evening. We'll proceed with the resolution, please.
That the committee receive report number clerk 2503 entitled 2026 Municipal Election Method of Voting, and that the committee recommend to council approving the use of internet and telephone voting as the voting method for the 2026 municipal election, and that the committee recommend to council that staff be authorized to execute any agreements necessary to implement internet and telephone voting, and direct staff to prepare the necessary bylaw for consideration by council at a future meeting.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Councillor Surna moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All in favor? Sorry, I'll do it all in favor. I couldn't see both sides. That is carried. Thank you. Okay, and I think that's it for the committee of the whole, so we can adjourn.
Resolved that we do now move out of committee of the whole and reconvene the regular council meeting.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Surna moves, Councillor Leach seconds. All in favor? That is carried. This brings us to correspondence. We'll do it in a couple of stages. So we'll start with items 1 to 12. So those items are to be received unless there are any comments, endorsements, questions. Deputy Mayor Whitner.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I still think we should have a quick discussion on the strong mayor powers, and I'd like to bring up number 12. Prince Edward Lennox at Addington Social Services, Ontario Works Financial Assistance Rates.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate your statement at the first. I mean, that probably helps alleviate some things, but at the end of the day, the province gives everybody strong powers. Whether they say no or not, if they want to do it 3 months down the road, they've got those powers. Is that correct? I believe it's a provincially driven mandate, so it can never be stopped. I think that attack with Nathan about that, and that's the way it is. So I've had quite a few calls about that. I know I watched the Elmer meeting the other night, and it was brought up, that makes it more like the US. That's not a good thing to say, I don't think. in France and don't care. And the hiring and firing thing, I don't approve of that at all in the budget, so. I know what's driving this, but I don't think it fits Malahide, but that's pretty well all I'll say at this point. Thank you.
Counselor Cerna.
I just want to add to what Deputy Mayor Widner said, and I think we talked about it earlier. All this strong mayor thing does is, and I like her approach. I told you that Team Malahide, and we do work well as a team. But all this strong mayor thing does is it puts the I back in team. And it shouldn't be that way. We work good as a team. We do our problem solving good as a team. We work together well, not just as a council and you as leading the council and then deputy mayor, but as staff as well. We saw that tonight with the great financial thing, working on trucks. Nothing but good, and I can't say enough good for what goes on within the Malahide Council, the staff included. But what he's trying to do isn't helping us. It doesn't apply to Malahide. It might apply to Toronto, who has 132 councillors that no two get along. But and I hate to say this, nothing personal, Nathan. But if firing you can build 1,000 more homes, you'd be gone yesterday. Okay, but it's not going to work. It doesn't make sense. But so kudos to Rob Flack if he thinks he's doing something good, but it just doesn't work for small municipalities. And you're right. What we need is money. We don't need weird things. And a lot of the problem starts at the top. It's a bottleneck. And when I had those conditions to do for a severance, some of the weirdest, stupid things, and the best example is trying to prove that some gas wells on the property, they're a half a mile from the severance that I'm trying to do, were properly sealed and capped, that nobody has records for. But that's a province that's asking me to prove that. Okay, they were never drilled, but I got to prove that they were properly sealed and capped. And even then, Minister of Natural Resources doesn't even have records of it. But that's only because it's 75 years ago or 80 years ago. So fix that problem. Don't say fire Nathan because we didn't build 1,000 homes and give you the power to do it. It's just a stupid rule. And that it starts at the top. Give us some money, we'll build the homes. Don't give us stupid rules or stupid powers that mean nothing. Don't put the I back in team. Do something that makes sense. That's my little spiel. Thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Glinski.
Madam Mayor, I tend to agree with Flack. We have a great staff and they do a great job. However, there is a way in the hell too much red tape around. And as Rick just pointed out, he proved his own point for the rest of us to have this, because with your mayoral power, you could overrule someone saying, well, was that capped 100 years ago? Who the hell gives a damn? But you could overrule that. But with the red tape the way it is now, you've got to get an engineer, you've got to get all kinds of people to agree to it. But I'm suggesting that it's a great rule. Ford said it would help build houses when he was in election mode, and I don't think any of our staff should be worried about losing their positions, because if you start building a few more houses or whatever, we're going to need people to be on the ball and checking that everything is done according to the way it's supposed to. But yet the red tape will be gone. more power to Flack and Ford for supporting this. And I didn't think I'd ever hear myself saying that, but I still maintain that we have a first-rate staff, and they would have a lot to do to make sure that if you have more buildings going up, that you would be doing it properly, or if there were things that were inconsistent, that they could be corrected. I think that just about covers it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glinski. And being that this is a new tool for us, I think the plan is for staff to help us with the full report so that we can just learn the details in terms of what exactly are those powers and what can be overruled, or so there's a lot of different nuances. So I think it'll be worthwhile. Again, even though I think formaldehyde, it will be a tool that we put in the shed and just to collect dust. It's still good to know. We should have some clarity around what it involves and what it does not involve, so that everybody is clear on that. It will be good learning for us. So thank you for those comments. Any further? Councillor Wilson.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Note number 6 from the Port Bruce Ratepayers Association. Nice to get some appreciation for every year we make that call, and it's like, are we throwing out money for this drag line? And you never know. And this year it saved a lot of damage to Port Bruce, and this year staff and everyone that was down there running stuff and pumps and making sure stuff was cleared out, it did a fantastic job. And it this year we look really good for making sure we had the drag line down there. So it's nice to see the appreciation for it. Thanks.
Yes, it is appreciated to have the correspondence from the community. Deputy Mayor, you had, item 12.
Yeah, and with council's permission, I'd like to also add number 11. I'm sure everybody around here may have a person they could nominate for this, for Senior of the Year, or for the contributions. So I think we should look at this, and could we just submit ideas and have them to one location, and or do we each put our own in separately? But I think it should be looked at. I'm going to nominate myself. That's correct. You second that?
I would.
Okay. And I was going to bring up the Ontario Works Financial Assistance rates. I mean, if you look at the rates, they're really low for some of these. And I mean, people aren't on these because they want to be, and it really puts them at a disadvantage, especially with the way everything costs and food and rent and everything. So if the government could top them up or raise it up, I think that would be a welcome addition. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Leach.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to congratulate the Aylmer Evangelical Church on such a fabulous milestone in our community. 125 years is a staying power. So congratulations to them.
Thank you for that. Any further comments? Mr. Godby.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If I may, just draw your attention to correspondence item number 9, the North Border Search and Recovery Emergency Services Presentation and Information Day. I had been reached out to by this group about a week or so ago. They're looking to set up at the Port Bruce sign in that grass area, kind of beside Imperial Road. Basically, they're going to be there. What they are is a group of primarily ex-military, retired divers and marine type people who are going to be down there basically putting on information session about marine safety throughout the course of the day. I guess the OPP Marine Unit will be there as well as their staff. I'm not sure if Malahide Fire and Rescue will be there or not, but they're going to have some equipment there and set up and kind of explain to all the boaters who are using Port Bruce, you know, what they do and how they can help in the event of some of these other marine crises that could happen.
Thank you for drawing your attention to that. Any further comments? Resolution?
Be it resolved that item 11 be supported and items 1 to 10 be received and filed.
Mo-
Nine, it was just for information, and the senior one can be done by an individual or in whatnot. It doesn't have to be supported by Malahide Council or Malahide Township. Any individual can go on and nominate. Yep. Right, so be it resolved that item 12 be supported and items 1 to 11 be received and filed.
Perfect, thank you. Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves, Councillor Leach seconds, all in favor? That is carried. Next, we'll consider the Malahide Volunteer Firefighter Association, the request for a portion of the pier of Port Bruce for fireworks. Anyone? Mr. Spore, do you need to speak to that, or is it pretty straightforward? Okay. Any questions or comments by?
Yeah, it's just through you, Mayor, is they're just looking for the same permission as last year. Excuse me, to host the fireworks again for the community. So
Okay, let's read the resolution.
Let the Malahide Volunteer Firefighter Association be granted permission to utilize a portion of the pier in Port Bruce for the purpose of a fireworks display on May 18th, 2025, rain date May 19th, 2025, subject to providing the township with proof of event liability insurance, naming the township of Malahide as an additional insured.
Thank you. Mover and seconder, so Councillor Cerna moves, Councillor Zelinski seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And then item 14, looks like a little housekeeping thing. Anything to add?
yes, through you, Mayor. The fire protection grant we received late last year. The money has been awarded, and that's for putting the washer in Station 5. Apparently there's some money came up available, so they've offered it out to the municipalities again. It's a small amount, but it's $363 extra. So we'll take it. Yeah, we won't say no.
Give it to.
Okay, thank you. We'll proceed with the resolution.
Then in addition to the approval granted under resolution number 25-004 and further to report number F2501 entitled Fire Protection Grant, Malahide Council approves the formalization of the additional grant allocation for the Fire Protection Grant Program, and that council authorizes the Director of Fire and Emergency Service and the Director of Corporate Services the authority to execute the amended transfer payment agreement with the province of Ontario for the 2024-2025 Fire Protection Grant Program in the amount of $361.73.
Mover and seconder, please. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves, Councillor Cerna seconds, all in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. We don't have any close session item. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, I'd just like to pass along council and my condolences for Rick and the loss of his mother this morning. It's knowing Sylvia as I did, it's not hard to see that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I'm sure she has a lot to do with the way you are today, but she was a character. She was a great community supporter, and she will be missed. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. Our condolences. This brings us to a confirmatory bylaw, please.
That bylaw number 25-27 being a confirmatory bylaw be given first, second, and third readings and properly signed and sealed.
Mover and seconder. Councillor Cerna moves, Councillor Leach seconds, all in favor? That is carried. And last but not least, adjournment.
That council adjourn its meeting at 8:08 p.m. to meet again on May 1st, 2025 at 7 p.m.
Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Whitner moves, Councillor Cerna seconds. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Happy Easter to everyone. Enjoy the long weekend.